How you doing? My name's Sam Oster, and today we're going to be going over a dairy facility and looking at all the mechanical hazards within it. We're going to go outside, check out a lot of the equipment, and see all the hazards that come along with that, as well as venturing inside the parlor and checking out everything in there. On top of that, we're going to be looking at personal protective equipment used, as well as safety protocols that are enacted to keep all the employees safe and healthy and out of harm's way. Let's get started.
The first piece of equipment we'll look at is New Holland T5105 with a Kirby horizontal mixer. This is used in dairy cattle operations. And another piece of machinery we look at is the CAT 926M front loader, which is also used in dairy operations as well as various other things such as construction. On all the machinery present, there are warning labels as well as danger labels that label different parts of the machinery that could cause serious harm. Here's some more labels. These are here to show operators of all the different hazards that are in place.
Hazard labeling on equipment is extremely important. It's basically directly from the manufacturer telling you the types of hazards that come along with it. And anytime before operating a piece of equipment, you should always do a pre-operational check just to make sure everything is intact and you're not going to have any problems while you're continuing your shift. For this next part, we're going to show a few short clips of different hazards that come along with these different pieces of equipment. We're going to go over pinch points, rotational hazards, power takeoff systems, augers, belts, and as well as different heated metals that come along with a lot of tractors that you see here in the dairy industry. So it's really important to look at these things beforehand as well as be aware of them during your shift so you can stay out of harm's way. As you see here on the front loader, there's a really big pinch point right at the center pivot. So whenever operating this equipment or working on it, make sure no one's in the cab, the key's off, parking brake is applied. Because if someone's up there while the machinery is running and you bump the steering wheel, that can cause some serious damage and most definitely a hospital trip for that employee. So whenever working on this kind of equipment, always be aware of your surroundings and who is in the cab. Here we see the horizontal mixer in action. As you see, these blades are constantly spinning, chopping up feed, and they are quite sharp. So whenever you're doing minor repairs in there or you're cleaning it out, you need to make sure that the keys are out of the ignition of the tractor, the power takeoff system is detached, and the parking brake is applied, as to make sure you can keep injuries to a minimum and keep your employees safe. Additionally, when working inside a piece of equipment like this, you always need to have a safety protocol enacted. That would be something like a second employee there supervising, making sure everything is okay, and being able to cut off any power that wasn't before if any problems do arise to keep the person inside safe. PTO or power takeoff systems are one of the most dangerous hazards on a job site. As you see, these are usually spinning around 1500 to 2000 RPMs while running, and that can cause a lot of damage, especially if there's loose clothing that can be caught in it. And this is one of the big things that a lot of people have to look out for. As you see, this PTO system does have guards and shields, which is very important to worker safety. It'll do a lot to prevent different accidents that may happen. So always make sure when you are running a PTO system, you do have guards as well as shields in place to protect your employees and protect yourself. Here's an example of a moving belt and a piece of equipment. In my opinion, it's one of the most looked over hazards on the job site. This is because you could hear your engine knock, you open the engine bay to go look in and see what's going on, and that can take a finger right off. So when we're working on equipment or checking things out, you need to make sure all the power's off so things like this cannot injure yourself or your employees.
Here we have a video of an auger system discharging feed for the dairy cattle operation. These can be very hazardous while in operation, but while it is not in operation, you can work on them for general maintenance. But this is just another one of the hazards that need to be looked out for while operating this equipment so your employees can stay safe.
So now that we've covered most of the outside equipment in this dairy operation, we're going to venture inside the parlor and see all the mechanical hazards that are in place there. We got a lot of pinch points, a lot of hydraulics that are moving around and can have the possibility of breaking bones and causing a lot of harm to employees. So we're going to go over these things and show employees how to be safe and what to watch out for while working on the job site.
Yep.
Now that we're inside the parlor, we see a lot more mechanical hazards that can come about. With Cole filming, you could see where he was putting his hands on the chains as well as the hydraulic systems. And these are different areas where pinch points can occur, and you can get a finger rolled over if you're not being careful, or if the system's being run while a person is working on them. So these are a few more areas where accidents are prone to happen. In this video, we're looking at a gate that's usually coming up or down to separate cows that are milking within the parlor to the ones that are just in front of the crowd gate in the loading bay. This is another example of a pitch point or crushing hazard. So it's another great one to look at because that button could be just slightly pressed and an arm, like we saw, could be right between that bar and it can cause some serious injury.
We'll get some videos around of it first. That's fine. Yep.
This last video we see is the holding chutes for milking cows, and when it's coming up, that's what's allowing the cows to be released and go back to their pens, and coming back down so the next grouping of cows can get milked. Right here, you could be standing under it, and it could come down without notice, or you could have a system failure, and that can cause some injury. Or again, where we see Cole demonstrating, there are those pinch points on the rollers coming down on the middle beams. Lastly, we're going to go over a few items we use for PPE, or personal protective equipment. First one being safety glasses. Safety glasses are great, especially when you're working around mechanical hazards, because at any point there could be metal debris flying off that has the chance of hitting your face and making you lose your vision. So that's why we require safety glasses. Another thing that we use are earplugs. Earplugs are extremely helpful when working around the dairy, because there's a lot of really loud equipment. There's pumps, there's air compressors, and the machinery itself can get very loud, and these are great at protecting your hearing. It's not as much as a safety precaution for mechanical hazards, but they are always good so you can keep your ears safe. Another thing we have here are safety vests. Safety vests around the dairy are very helpful, especially because we got people driving large equipment, and sometimes their view can be obstructed because of a wagon or you just have a blind spot. So having safety vests are extremely useful because it puts everyone else out there on the job site very prevalent, and you can see them at any time. And lastly, on the job site, it is always good and required to keep a first aid kit on hand. We have 3 different first aid kits around the location, so if at any time there is an injury, everyone knows where to go and how to access the first aid kit to provide primary care to someone injured in an incident. Thank you again for watching this training video. I hope you got some good material out of it that you can be able to apply to your work and keep yourself safe on the job site.